Ooh. All right. First off, I know some people in the chat going to not like this video. You know, for some reason, every time I speak my opinion on something, people get very upset if it's even slightly against Xbox. And, you know, I get it. To a point, I do get it. But I don't believe in silencing myself just because I might ruffle a few feathers. You guys know I'm passionate. You know, I'm not speaking this out of, oh, I'm just hating. I'm speaking this out of concern. What are we talking about? Toys for Bob is going independent. They're going indie. Now, for those of you that don't know who Toys for Bob are, they're one of the studios that Microsoft bought when they acquired ABK. They make Spyro. They make the Crash games. And it was speculated heavily that they're going to be making Banjo-Kazooie. Now, let's talk about that in particular. I understand people have, like, we don't want to look at, like, the negatives. We want to look at more of the positive stuff. I get that. I'm not going to, like, attack that mentality because I do feel like we do live in an industry full of negativity. And sometimes it's nice to highlight that. Let's go over my particular issues with this. One, Microsoft did nothing but tell us, the industry, that they regret what they did during the Xbox One generation and the Xbox 360 generation, where they owned all these IPs but didn't own none of these studios. So what ended up happening? They ended up having scenarios where they had popular franchises they couldn't do nothing with because they didn't own the studio. That's what they told me for a long time, why they were investing into these studios, because they wanted to make sure that they had access to these studios to make these games. I don't see that. You know, it's just like, obviously it's one studio, and for people saying it's one studio, you're probably right. It's just one studio. But to me, we had the ABK deal thing happen. What happened? You had people at Bethesda saying, why isn't our games on multi-plat? That's not fair. So then what's going to happen after Toys for Bob is allowed to go independent? Other studios, in my personal opinion, especially smaller studios, hell, even some bigger studios like Obsidian might start showing resentment that they didn't get the same opportunity. Now, obviously, people say, well, Addict, that doesn't mean that, you know, Microsoft's just going to allow that to happen. I don't know. At this point, you know, they want to publish stuff more on multiple platforms. For all I know, this is one of the mindset they have. It's like it's going to be easier to do that if these studios aren't owned by us anymore. You know, it's just like, you know, Banjo-Kazooie is such an emotional type of title to me. It's one of the things that me and my dad, God rest his soul, he got me into. And, you know, I was really looking forward to seeing another Banjo-Kazooie. Now, keep in mind, we still might see a Banjo-Kazooie. They did say that they're working into partnering with Microsoft, and they're going to continue making whatever they're making. Most likely, I would say it's Banjo-Kazooie, but we don't know. Here's the thing. We're seeing games on an iconic level getting completely annihilated because of the way that the industry is functioning right now. One of the key components to a studio like Toys for Bob being part of a company like Microsoft is the securability that they are funded and they are fine. What happens if that changes? Are they going to get the Spyro IPs and the Crash Bandicoot IPs? I don't know. What kind of partnership they going to have? I don't know. If Microsoft is funding the studio to make the game, why are they just letting them go independent? I don't know. There's just so many variables that's being happening at Microsoft on a consistent basis that you couldn't tell me. You could tell me what's going on in this industry because, oh my God, I don't know. You know, could be nothing. And let me stress that. This could be for nothing. But at the same time, guys, if a company has told me for the longest time, I've been covering this since 2014. I've seen studios not have the ability to make an IP because of funding and stuff. What happens when Banjo-Kazooie, or they're making another Crash, or, they're making anything. And then Microsoft decides they no longer want to work with them. We've seen how indies, they have a hard time. This is why a lot of these companies signed up to be an independent developer. And like, to me, it's just like, if you're going to fund it, like, give you games a shot. Like, Microsoft is literally letting them go independent before they even make a game that has a proper budget. Maybe that's just because Microsoft, in the logistic of things, that was the furthest thing on their mind when they bought ABK. Maybe that's the case. And if so, that's sad, man. Because the same people on Twitter right now attacking me are the same people that was saying if ABK is bought by Microsoft, maybe we'll see some of these studios do something unique with Microsoft's money. Now, obviously, we still will see it. And maybe because Microsoft's not too keen on exclusivities these days, it's okay to work with a company like Toys for Bob and let them go independent because you don't really care if their games are exclusive or not. At this point, there's a good chance the Banjo-Kazooie game is multi-plat. Going forward, like day one, because to me, they don't care about the exclusivity part, so I don't even know. They could be working on another Crash, another Spyro. They could be working on a few things, but it's just like Microsoft Toys for Bob is talented. Just because their games didn't do the greatest out the gate, I feel like they got a lot of room, a lot of foundation to be built on. And it's just like, I do truly believe that this studio is going to make a couple games and Microsoft's going to regret letting them go because you've given them all the independence to do whatever they want with it. Who says they don't sell to another company the moment this is finalized? Now, maybe there's probably some kind of, deal going on. I don't know if there's money transitioning going between Toys for Bob and Microsoft. Maybe it's just one of those things where it's like Microsoft and Toys for Bob both agree that the relationship between them isn't going to work in the long term. So they just split up. I can feel that happening. People say they think that Toys for Bob's going to maintain Crash, and then no. Microsoft is getting those IPs most likely, because just because they made those games doesn't mean they own those IPs. It was always ABK that owned those IPs, and now Microsoft. I'm just disappointed that it's like the studios the little bit of studios I was looking forward to buying, making something for Xbox under Microsoft's brand with all the money. It just feels like they're slowly, one by one, the only reasons I wanted this deal to go through is just going out the window. It's like I said, people say, oh, doom and gloom. It's not doom and gloom. I'm just voicing concern, man. Toys for Bob makes a lot of the games I really like. And games I'm curious to get into. I'm hoping they make a Banjo-Kazooie. I actually suggested that they make like a crossover between Crash, Spyro, and Banjo. I feel like that would be good. But it is what it is, guys. Just, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Very curious to hear your guys' opinion. Tomorrow I'll have a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth video out on the channel. You guys know how I enjoy that video. Is that game? Did Xbox miss out on it? I don't know. Check out tomorrow. But put in the comment section below what you guys feel about this. Do you think Toys for Bob is like a really important studio? I don't think it's important on the logistic things, like the long-term things, but I think it's disappointing that this studio is being allowed to go independent without even doing anything with Microsoft, because I feel like Microsoft's going to regret that in the long term of things. But anyway, follow me on Twitter if you guys haven't. Lord Addict ILP. You could always sub to the channel. I make weekly content, and I have been streaming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the Addict Arena channel. All that's in the description below. And until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. Man, this has been a crazy week.